Mark the Mechanic. We're going to talk about decks a little bit today. I think this little 46-inch deck that a client brought in, actually 42-inch deck. One of the things you want to be cognizant of is pulleys. Make sure they spin free. They're not jerking around like the bearings are going out. All the pulleys, make sure they don't make any crazy sounds. They spin free. This one came in with a problem with the shaft. This is the, I call it a mandrel. This goes through the deck, obviously through the deck here. And this is our spindle assembly, and then the pulley goes on top of this. These bearings can go out in them. They can freeze up. They can heat up and cause lots of problems. If they get corroded, they'll freeze up. If they encounter any kind of resistance, they'll actually burn up in here. We've seen both in the shop. This one kind of has a unique issue. The owner put the blades on, hopefully you can see this, but these are all smashed down. So when you put the blade on incorrectly, if you don't get the slots to line up right, it'll turn a little cocked or sideways on it and it smashes these down. So these blades will end up just spinning, free spinning on here, and doesn't do it obviously much good. So we're having to change out these shafts. They come with the bearing on them, so we're changing that out. We're also changing the blades out on it as well. So pay attention to make sure there's nothing cracked in here. When you hit something with the blade, oftentimes it will actually crack this housing, this aluminum housing. So look down below, look up top, make sure there's nothing cracked there. And the other thing is, pay attention to when you change these out. You can change the whole assembly out. These bolts will break off most likely when you take them out, so you'll want to order bolts for it as well. We always change them out if we need to. But this pulley has very tiny little notches in it that match the ones on the spindle. But we often see where these are actually, it just completely destroys these, for lack of a better word, the notches here. So be careful looking at that stuff as well. Make sure that that fits fairly tight, and then the nut goes on there and obviously holds that together. So if these are wasted and trashed, you replace the pulley as well. And oftentimes it chews these up too, so you change out both. Other than that, the other things, check the condition of the belt. Make sure it's not frayed or looking like it's melting on there to be a real shiny appearance where it's slipping and causing problems there. Sometimes you can hear it squealing, you can smell the actual rubber burning as well. And there's also brake pads on these. I'll try to zoom in so you can see these. These brake pads have done their job. But what their job is to do is to slow the pulleys down when you release the PTO on here, so it eats the grooves up. So we're going to replace these brake pads as well. Overall, the deck looks pretty good. Make sure the springs are all in place here. There's a spring here that returns the brake pads, and there's another one over here. And make sure all the parts are there and everything's there. But see if I can show you this brake pad here. Over on this side, you can see hopefully you can see the grooves in it here. Zoom in here a little for you. So there's the grooves I'm talking about right in here. So just do an overall condition of the deck. Make sure all the bolts and fasteners are tight, and put everything back together, and should have a good deck. So there's your tip for today.